Secunda Secundae question 49 discusses what Thomas calls the integral parts of prudence. So foundation, walls and roof are integral parts of our house. What are the integral parts, the components of prudence? And in fact, St. Thomas thinks there are 8 component skills that make up a well-rounded prudence. And he discusses how they form part of the prudence by which we govern ourselves, leaving us to work out how they might be cached, say, in the prudence of legislators and government and so on. And I think we need to reflect on how these different skills will deploy in different areas and learn to deploy them. So of course we need to reason well, to think clearly and logically. That's fairly obvious. We also need memory, and St. Thomas in fact illustrates what he says there by offering some memory techniques. We have to learn from experience and not repeat the mistakes of the past. And perhaps that's important for legislators. What kind of laws have proved impractical and had to be repealed? Don't repeat the mistakes of the past. Then we need insight into basic principles, basically the principles of the natural law. We need to see what moral principles must be applied here and now, and that's hugely important for legislators, because the job of human law is to apply the natural law to current conditions, social, geographical, economic, and so on. Then we have to have a willingness to learn. We will need mentors. Aristotle thinks you can't be prudent till you're something like 30 years old. You have to learn from the more mature. That would include more mature politicians who've shown how to do it well, and perhaps previous wise lawgivers who've gone down in history. But then you need things like ingenuity. You will need a kind of agility of thought to see the way through novel challenges which meet the individual or the society or the army or whatever. Circumspection is one of the components of prudence that gets a bit close to the modern sense of prudence as something a bit careful. Circumspection is recognizing the circumstances that might thwart a good policy. That would be applicable to legislators. Maybe in the abstract, a particular law would be worth making, but it's not going to work given current social situation, conditions and so on, the public mood and things like that. We do need caution, carefulness. We shouldn't be rash and jump into actions by a kind of knee-jerk reaction. And in the case of legislators, caution will enable them to sense when some apparently good law would in fact make things worse. In our own country, I understand, the government a few years ago forbade smoking in prison. So there's a general smoking ban in public, which has been extended to prisons. So there's more of a black market in tobacco in prison, and more prisoners are getting ill by smoking other stuff which is much worse than tobacco. That's the kind of law that makes things worse and shouldn't be enacted. And then we need far-sightedness, a planning for the future, and in the case of legislation, government, we have to aim laws and policies at worthy future goals, with a well-founded hope of success. So we see again how complex this life skill of prudence is, and how much will come together with a great moral beauty if it is working well.